Was there any time where you kind of had to lean into that more? Or was it just organic where you were just always believed and it kind of just the domino effect, right? One thing kind of led after the other. So you really didn't have to worry about, do I have to get a real job or this isn't going to work or
Oh
I
yeah,
have
I
to
see.
go into the film industry and not work for myself.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to understand. Because, like, in a sense, people say I'm in the film industry, but I'm not like in a union. I just happen to be like now it's all through YouTube. Yeah, like um, I love being candid like this because like a lot of people probably see what I've done with my career, and I kind of fell backwards into it without much effort. But that's not to say that afterwards I wasn't chasing the same kind of success from just like, oh, I should be able to just make any film, put it online, and there should be millions of views 6 months later, like the first few films. And that wasn't the case. It didn't keep happening. And in a way, like as much of a blessing as that was, it was also a curse because I found myself even knowing, having all the, the quotes in my head, don't chase past success, just keep moving forward, don't have expectations. Um, it got harder. It got harder from that point. And I find myself, now the industry has also changed, right? Like, I mean, back then there was, it was Google videos. It wasn't YouTube yet. And, there was something interesting about like right time, right place, 2007, 2008, 2009. People were eating up those films and they were still buying DVDs. So I could print out 1,000 DVDs and they would be gone in a couple months. And, sometimes they'd be gone in a couple days because people would buy 1,000 at a time. So it's a different industry now because YouTube and all these different platforms that you can put your stuff up on, they're now starting to censor. There's other aspects to them. There's a lot more competition than there was back then. Back then, if you put in just a little bit of extra devotion into your film and you make it look better quality than YouTube or Google Video was looking at, then you would have this stellar film next to all these other films. But nowadays you have influencers and people who had made previously 150 million and then they just hop in and they can throw in $150,000 a month into ads. And it's a different game today. So I find that it is pretty difficult. And I find myself listening to I listened to all the podcasts, like how do you make a business out of this? How do you, like how do you stay true to your craft while also following some kind of formula that is scalable? And this is where my rebel comes in. I'll listen to all that stuff because I want to know and I want to be able to do it. But I find that all the tactics and all the monetizable avenues for being a filmmaker, there's an element of it that I just feel like, no, that is the epitome of what I would call a sellout. If I were to go down that route, I would call myself a sellout. And I would probably have to get really clever to find a way to justify it to myself. And then deep down inside, I would just keep shaking my head at myself. So what I found is it had, I mean, maybe it didn't have to be this way, but it's a hard road. I was at my wit's end right before Gaia picked me up and they said, hey, come here and just be a filmmaker. I got a really good salary. I was there for 2 years. I made Psychedelica in this poster right behind me. I made 2 seasons of it. I made another show called Limitless. I helped out and I narrated a bunch of other stuff. And it was a great time. And I was like, is this what making it feels like? Now there's like, this is like Netflix, but it's the conscious version of it. And then I was like, yes, but it's still a corporation. Do I want to do this? And that was when I realized, like, Ben, like, this is where your rebel comes. I started, my wife was pregnant with twins. And I was like, I really feel like quitting my job. And I'm living in Boulder, like I already have a daughter. I have twins on the way and I feel like quitting my job with a really good salary. And I talked to my wife and she was like, listen, I think you need to do what inside you need to do. And I ended up quitting. And yes, we dealt with a really, really hard dark night of the soul for the next 2 years. But eventually it got back to the point where, making film with Pete Evans, made this film with John Chavez that Joe Rogan and Alex Gray and Dennis McKenna and Graham Hancock shared out. That was called DMT Quest. Then Aubrey Marcus found out about me, and we did a film together on a darkness retreat that he did. And there was this underlying proverbial net that would always catch me. And I still find myself freaking out about the numbers. Like, how am I going to make this work? I can project out in my head that in 4 months, I'm going to be flat broke at this rate if I don't find a big project that'll bring in the money. And in a way, I find that even when I just say, can I swear on this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even when I just say, fuck it, I don't want to do any of this anymore, and I give up, someone will just come and hand me an opportunity that I didn't have to seek out. So I'm not like, this isn't my advice to anyone who wants to get into the, like, I'm not just
how do you
saying
stay
like,
so succinct?
Like, hey, give up and your dreams will come true. No, I don't know that that's the case. But what I do feel is if I'm going to look at the law of averages here, I've never not been taken care of. Even when I was in my dark night of the soul, there were people that came to my rescue and my family's rescue saying like, I just want to give you this gift. And I would say, I can't take that because I just felt guilty for the spot that I put my family in. And they were like, I don't want anything in return. I don't want you to even feel like this is putting me out. Just take this gift, please. I had people putting us up, gave us a place to stay, and it never stopped going that way. And I feel like if I would have given up on, let's say, my dream, to put it that way, if I would have given up on my dream, other people might have given up on me too, right? If I would have just gotten into a construction job and then lost my construction job and then been shit out of luck, maybe people wouldn't have come to my rescue at that point. So I don't know where the hidden gem is in there because I'm still figuring this out. I'm actually even at a point right now where the past 6 months I've been without a project and I finally landed one with Tim Pool. And this is really awesome. But it caused me to just like, okay, how do I understand what this roller coaster is? Because when I have a project and I'm like, yay, life is good, like everything's going great. And then as soon as the project ends, I start freaking out. What's the next project? Where's the next paycheck going to come from? How, is this what the rest of my life is going to be? This feast or famine mentality. And really what I've found out is the most difficult places that this path has put me has forced me to accept new avenues that I never would have found had I just said, you know what, I think I'm just going to stay at Gaia, or I think I'm just going to opt out and go back to the military or do something safe or do something cushy. And what keeps happening is the more that I take a leap of faith, even though it's not practical, it doesn't seem logical, but if it's directly in line with, I know what I was put here to do. I know I was put here to make music and or make film and to deliver that to the world somehow. And I know for a fact that's what my heart is into. And I know that if I were to leave that arena for safety, that deep down inside, I might have money, but I'll still be shaking my head at myself.